Šis bija ļoti par Latviju, vai ne? Un par to, kas mums tepat uz robežām, bet tagad tāda mazliet starptautiskāka elpa. Mūsu nākamais runātājs ir no Vācijas. Viņš dalīsies ar savām zināšanām par dažādiem integrētās noturības stratēģijām un risinājumiem šajā kontekstā. Lūk, viņš nāk no korporatīvās drošības un lauciņa. Un, kas interesanti, viņš ir fokusēts tieši uz luksusa industriju. Tā kā diezgan, vismaz manām acīm, mīklains apraksts, gribētu dzirdēt un saprast, kas tur īsti būs. Tā kā šobrīd piesaku Felixu Timtschenko šeit uz skatuves. Lūdzu. Jā, var aplaudēt skaļāk. Nevajag to latvisko aplausu, vajag to eiropeisko. Ja?
Fair enough.
Right. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Felix Timtschenko. I'm head of security of an HSE of a German company. And today I would going to talk to you, an honor to talk to you about integrated resilience strategy, key factors for emergency preparedness. So business resilience in the context of crisis management. So let's talk about resilience as a word. Resilience as another buzzword, let's say. So I hear everywhere is resilience. So this needs to be resilient, this needs to be resilient, everywhere is resilience. So just from my understanding what resilience really means, resilience for me is a kind of an umbrella. It's a kind of a status we try to reach in every single bullet point we see here. It doesn't matter, we talk about infrastructure, we talk about security, we talk about supply chain. We need to be resilient as an organization. So what does it mean as trying to find a definition? So business resilience is the ability of an organization, institution to adapt quickly to disruptions while maintaining contingencies, so continuous business operations, and of course, the core business we're in, protecting employees. So there are three main points we see in this definition. The first of all is adaptation, which means, like Darwin said, the survival of the fittest, it was not meant that the survival of the strongest. It was meant the survival of those who can really adapt quickly, who can change their mind quickly, who can be flexible and agile. And this is what we want to have as an organization. Continuity is, of course, also a very important point. Why? Because we are all living in processes. In an organization, there are processes. So the contingency of these processes is absolutely key. And the most people here are in the business of protecting. So we are protecting our people, of course, we're protecting our reputation, and we are protecting our assets. So these are the three main points. And as I said, talk about resilience in the context of crisis management. So the PwC did a global crisis survey in 2019. And then 60% of all German companies stated that they are facing or have been facing a crisis. This is quite an interesting picture because 2019, it was like 5 years ago, so between 2014 and 2019, 5 years, 60% facing a crisis. Let's have a look at the same survey in 2023. We see already 97% of all German companies are stating that they are in a crisis or have been facing a crisis. And the other 3% who are missing to the 100 are probably lying, because I don't know any company in Germany who are not facing a crisis. So, and 67% of these guys say that they have middle or high impact on business operations and that crucial business processes have been interrupted. So 2/3 of all of these companies are facing severe damage to their businesses. So let's have a look at the world of crisis. We have seen a few crises in the world, Gulf crisis, oil crisis, and so on, dot-com bubble. We all know that the more security-related crises like 9/11, the Afghanistan, the Iraq, the war on terror, as they called it, the real estate and financial crisis 2007 and 8, and the annexion of Crimea in 2014 by Russia, which for me was the kind of a breaking point. So you see, from time to time, we do have crises in the world, which is quite normal. But what happened now is that we are changing. The whole world is changing. And now we face multiple crises, and more sophisticated people than me would call it poly-crisis. So what do I mean by that? We all remember COVID, of course. So it had economic implications. We had the lockdown, we had no travel policy, and so on. So a huge geopolitical impact. And on supply chain as well. Talking about supply chain, you remember this one ship which completely closed the whole supply chain for the whole world, it seemed to be. And of course, the full invasion, Russia's full invasion of Ukraine, which was a tragedy and is a tragedy for Ukraine, but it also had a huge geopolitical impact on the supply chain. It has an energy crisis in Europe, especially in Germany. We had an energy crisis, refugee immigration issues. We have 1.5 million Ukrainians in Germany, and it has also political impacts because we had elections right now, so the far-right parties are gaining more and more power. And then we had the Israel-Gaza conflict, and then 2025, the biggest threat to the free world, which it is causing right now and will cause more geopolitical damage, was the election of Donald Trump, the biggest threat for the free world. However, you see, this all happened in the last 4 to 5 years. This means we are not thinking about, will we ever be in a crisis, or what is the next crisis? We are already in a crisis, and this state will go on and on. I have brought a few examples with me. We'll talk about a few of these, but I brought some learnings with me. So these are learnings from 25 years of crisis management, but these are my learnings. And I would like to share them with you. So first learning is the so-called holistic approach. So what is it important in a crisis is a holistic approach. What do I mean by that? I was in Iraq 2003, 2004, 2005 several times. And for that, at that time, we used to spend €1 million a month on security for our engineers. So a huge amount of money. One funny day, an engineer of ours, was driving with an armored vehicle, with a close protection team in the mountainous area of Sulaymaniyah, and then he had an accident. And he broke his 2 legs, and after a few surgeries in Erbil, 6 months of surgeries, he was flown out to Düsseldorf, where he had another 2 years of rehab. Why I'm saying this is that completely changed my view on the holistic approach on security and safety. And this is what I like about this conference here. We're not talking about security only as a standalone one. We spent €1 million on security, and then we had an HSE, so a safety issue with that guy. So holistic approach. This is me, very young, in Iraq. So the second one, and this is a very important one for me, it took me 25 years to get to know this and to understand this, the learning, do not prepare for scenarios. The picture you see here is a factory in France. I took this picture when I was inside the factory, actually. So the gates were blocked, and you see on the right-hand side there's a fireplace. It was directly outside the factory, and a guillotine to threaten our managers. So what happened was, when you are responsible for security of a facility, you are prepared for a lot of scenarios. You are prepared for intrusion, you are prepared for robbery, you're prepared for theft, but you are not prepared, actually we were not prepared for the inside job. That means that those people were our employees. They did this. So we were prepared for 1 million scenarios, and this was another one. So, and this was an important learning for me. If you prepare for 100 scenarios, you will sure face scenario number 101. So, when I started to work in the tobacco industry, I started to work there. The crisis management manual was 240 pages. Nobody read it, of course. Nobody read it, because nobody will read 240 pages. However, we thought that it is important to have all the scenarios we can think of in this crisis management manual, which does not work. I would like to emphasize on this point a bit further so you can picture yourself what I mean by that. The difference between scenario and process, which has nothing to do with security at all. So if you are not in the security business, it's a nice example for you. So let me introduce Peter to you. Peter is the guy on the right. Peter is slightly overweight, and he is a bit concerned about his health, so he consults a cardiologist, and the cardiologist is also concerned about his health. So this is the scene. The cardiologist is a bit concerned about the health state of Peter. So our goal is now for you and for me to get Peter to lose some weight, to take care of his health, whatsoever, okay? And now we have the difference between the scenario and the process. I will talk to you. So what are the worst case scenarios for Peter not exercising? So we can have a lot of this. Peter does not want to, the gym is under construction whatsoever, the road is closed, so he is not willing to go there. However, Peter is not motivated at all, he doesn't want to go to the bloody gym, and or he's forgotten his sports dress. So if I would talk with you, as every one of you would probably make up 100 other scenarios why Peter is not going to the gym. So this is the scenario. Let's switch it a little bit and think about the process. What do we want to have as a process? The process is we want Peter to be more healthy. We want Peter to exercise. So we think about process as exercising as a process. So can he exercise at home would be one question. The second one, can we get him a personal trainer? Can we get him a promotion so he can afford a nutrition trainer as well? Can we build a gym in Peter's house? Can we motivate him? Can we motivate his friends, his family, his wife to keep him to the gym? Or can we have a bonus for him if he reaches some goals? So this is the process-based approach. We had the scenario and we had the process. So what do you think? What would be better for managing a crisis? To focus on scenarios and focusing on the problem, or you are focusing on the process and you are focusing on the solution. So for me, and this was probably my most important learning in crisis management, we need to focus more on the process. We need to focus more on the outcome. So another learning was quite different. Imagine two people. Two people you know, you don't know, two people in a crisis. So there are two people, they're both in the same situation, they have a crisis. The first one is abusing drugs, stops showering, is not doing anything for himself, feels bad, eats unhealthy food, and is, I don't know, abusing drugs and alcohol. This is the one part, the one guy. The other one is a role model. He's a sports guy. He eats good, he feels good, he exercises, so he is the guy who really wants to get through this. So my question is, who would you think would go through a crisis better than the other? It is the guy on the right. I'm absolutely sure. So my learning is, when we talk about resilience, we talk also about individual resilience. That means that we need to lead yourself first before leading others. That means all that the resilience starts with you. So, but what can I do to be resilient for myself? I can give you some examples, just the quick ones. Be good to yourself. Do things that make you happy. So even in a crisis, think about people in Ukraine in bomb shelters. You have seen these videos. The guys are singing, they're reading, they're talking to each other. So why they're doing that? They're doing that because they want to feel better. They want to feel better to go through this crisis. Leave toxic environments and people. You know these people, you talk to them and you feel exhausted afterwards. You feel bad. You don't need this in your day-to-day life, but you for sure don't need this in a crisis. Take care of your health, get some exercise, and abstain from medicine, drugs, smoking and alcohol. I know this is the toughest one. However, it is important if you want to be resilient. Speaking about your team, because you are the role model for your team. If you are resilient, you feel good, you are the role model for your team. And the best picture representing, for me, a team in a crisis is a SWAT team. This is a very nice example, and it's a good picture. So what do I mean by a SWAT team? To go through a crisis, you need a team which is small. You don't need and you cannot handle 100 people in your crisis management team. This is just simply not possible. You need these guys, like the SWAT team, to be loyal. Loyal to you as a leader, loyal to the organization, loyal to your country, whatsoever. You don't need people who talk behind your back. You want people who want you to win, so that the team can win, so that the organization can win. Of course, the SWAT team is special weapons and tactics, which means they need to be well trained and they need to be well equipped. We need to get them all the skills, all the resources, all the tools, so that we have this kind of a perfect team. And this is my learning number 2. Just picture yourself, I'm in a crisis, I need a SWAT team. So this picture, a good friend of mine took, and it was an evacuation drill on 18th of February 2022 in Ukraine. We all know what happened in Ukraine on 24th of February. So this was a tough thing and a brave thing to do as an evacuation drill on the 18th of February, when the situation went really, really tense. So my learning here is there's no glory in prevention, do it anyhow. The thing is, nobody, if you are in the security business, you know this, nobody will come to you, clap on your shoulder and say, it was a brilliant idea that you have interrupted our business operations and they do this evacuation drill. That's fantastic. Let's do this again next week. Nobody will do this. Nobody will tell us this. However, it needs to be done. And sometimes our business is about what needs to be done at the right time. The sixth learning is a saying here is, I'm still learning, of Michelangelo obviously said this. Probably there are internet records somewhere on YouTube where he's stating this. However, what I mean here is that you yourself and your organization needs to be a constant learner, to go through a crisis and to be resilient. We all know people who say the same things for 25, 35 years. We do this anyhow. I don't like seminars and conferences. We don't need this. These guys will not help you for your organization to become a learning organization. And this is what you need to be a resilient organization. You need to be a learning organization, because what I talked about earlier about adaptation, which means you need to adapt quickly. But how can you adapt quickly if you are simply not willing to learn? And of course, the organization always contains of people. So to be a learning organization, you need to have people and yourself willing to learn. And to be a constant learner, and maybe this has nothing to do with security or safety itself, but it is absolutely important. So coming to one of my favorite learnings is learning number 7. And this is experts are overrated. I know it's a really tough thing to say in a room full of experts, because you are experts and I see myself as well as an expert with a big experience and so on. So, however, experts can fail. And I give you a few examples. So this one is a nice one. iPhone is the most expensive phone in the world, and it doesn't appeal to business needs because it doesn't have a keyboard. And this was said by an expert at that time, Steve Ballmer, who was the CEO of Microsoft. And he is an expert, but he was not anticipating what the iPhone would mean for the whole mobile devices industry. So the global demand for motor vehicles will not exceed 1 million simply due to the lack of available chauffeurs. This is a complete misunderstanding of the driving industry. Said, okay, fair enough, at 1900, but Gottlieb Daimler, he was an expert. But he was misunderstanding it because he was thinking that to drive a car, you for sure need a driver. So, but we all know, just for some people this is the case, but for sure not for all people. There's not the slightest indication that we will ever be able to develop atomic energy. So even the genius mind, like Albert Einstein, was not able to anticipate and to foresee what will happen in the near future. And the last one, and this is probably my favorite one, we were not prepared for this. And this was a statement in an interview of a high German politician. I will not mention his name. However, he was sitting on the 9th of November 2016 when Donald Trump won his first election, and he was saying to the journalist, we were not prepared for this. So we are now not talking about 100 scenarios. There were only 2 scenarios at all. This one scenario was Donald Trump is winning the election. The second scenario is Hillary Clinton is winning the election. So just 2 scenarios, and he as an expert, he as a political expert is stating we were not prepared for this. So what should we do with the experts, as we are all experts? The question is, do we hear? Do we invite them? Do we talk to them? What do we do with the experts? And my advice or my learning or my thoughts on this is that we should listen, but we should not obey. That means these experts can fail. Nobody knows your company, your organization, or your personal crisis better than you do. Nobody does. So you listen to the experts, but you do not obey. And that were my seven learnings, the most important learnings for me in the crisis management. And I would love to close my speech with a more personal story, which I find is very inspiring for me, because then I've learned a lot. And it was a young guy. When I started with my security career, I was in a crisis management team of Siemens AG, and we used to have an office in the World Trade Center. I just started my career, and I was sitting in the crisis control room. And then, there are a lot of phones at that time, absolute chaos, nobody knows, nobody has any information, and our office is gone, obviously, in New York. And then the phone rings, and there was a lady on the phone, and she was the spouse of one of our employees. And she said to me, like, I'm searching for my husband. And I was a bit confused. I mean, I have no information, obviously, not about her husband. We had no information at all, let's say, on the 12th and 13th of September. So I talked to her. Day in, day out, 3, 4, 5 times a day. We talked. We talked about her husband. We talked about her anxiety. We talked about their children. We talked about the perspective, the next holiday, and so on. So we talked about 6 days in a row, so that my colleagues were making fun of me because we talked 3, 4, 5 days times a day, and they were picking up the phone and saying, "Oh, this is the lady. This is for Felix." And I was like, "Oh yeah, okay." And then we talked. So after 6 days, she gave me a call, and she said, my husband was found. He was in a hospital, and he was unconscious for a few days, and he had a surgery, but he is fine, and I just wanted to say thank you. And I was confused. I was something like 22 or something. I was like, yeah, but I was not able to help you. And she said, "You helped me a lot, and thank you for that." So after this, I really recognized what is really important. We are all experts in our field. We have knowledge and expertise. However, if we don't have this, we always can be able to help. And this can be anything. The secret to living is giving, and we can give time, we can give our attention, we can give empathy, we can give a lot. We can give a lot to the people. So for years now, I close my speech with the same saying, and this is was my last message to you. And this saying is, "You can make a difference for sure." Thank you very much, Riga, for having me. It was a great honor to talk to you. Thank you very much.
Felix, so much. Thanks for the, I would say, quite inspiring presentation that included several stories. My head goes off. So, what's your view on Baltics from German perspective nowadays? Considering that what you said, that we are in the middle of crisis which is ongoing all the time now.
Yeah, to be honest, for Germany, the Baltic states are now becoming more and more a role model, because we don't know much, to be honest, about the Baltic state. We know a bit about Tallinn, a bit about Riga, but we don't know much about it. But we are absolutely fans of digitalization you have here, because we in Germany are far, far away from that.
I think you still use telefax.
Yes, we do.
I've heard.
Yes, we do. Sometimes we do. So I think we are like I don't know, maybe 15 years behind, and it feels sometimes like that. So it's it's great. It's a great city, and I love to be here. Yeah.
Nice. Do we have questions in the audience? Varbūt ir kādi jautājumi? We'll have a chance to ask questions since you're a member of a panel, upcoming panel in the discussion. Thank you so much. And I think it takes some guts to, as an expert, to say don't listen to experts, or listen to them or don't obey them.
Yeah, people are often like, if I'm in a smaller room like that, and I state this and I leave it for a second, and people like, this is not what he's saying, right? We are all experts here. I don't know what he's saying, though. But at the end, from my perspective, it makes sense.
It does. Yeah. It does make sense. Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we have a certificate as appreciation for you coming. I believe you have so many certificates in your office, so another one.
Thank you very much. It's a great honor.
And a photo.
Thank you very much.